Welcome to another episode of the Golden Moment podcast. My name's Mijo Biscan. Today I spoke with my friend and extraordinary drummer, Danny McKenna. He's the drummer on my latest album, Golden Moment, but he's also played with many other Australian luminaries. So he's a long-time drummer with Jeff Lang. He's played with Dyson. He's played in the Bloody McKennas, which is a group of his siblings formed this amazing band, and many other bands over the years in and around the Melbourne music scene, but all over the country, performing at festivals, on tours. And so it was a really great chat to get in to find out a bit more about Danny's origin story. Even though we played music together, it was an opportunity for me to kind of find out more about what drives him as a drummer. And it was very interesting finding out that started at a very early age for him, and then he just really stuck to that path for a very long time and really eked out his own kind of style, very intuitively picking up drums and developing it as his own thing. So it was a really cool conversation. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So here is my conversation with Danny McKenna. All right, well, I'm here with Mr. Danny McKenna, drummer extraordinaire, does all sorts of things, animates things. How's it going, Danny?
Hey, Mio. Good, thanks, mate.
Cool.
It's nice to see your face.
Yeah, yours too. It's been a while. So yeah,
there's not much yellow going on there, Mio. I'm usually used to
true.
seeing you in a yellow t-shirt or
there's a little bit sneaking in, subliminal,
faded 70s can yellow.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. Yeah, so I will have done a bit of an intro to you so people know a bit about who you are, but maybe tell us your standard bio, where it all started for you, and how you got into drumming and where it's at.
Big story.
We got time.
I'm over 40 years old, so where do you want me to start?
At the very beginning. We won't do a one-for-one retelling, like I picked up the stick and then I went like that.
Well, yeah, drumming seemed like it just landed like a big clap of thunder from the gods. It was almost like Thor's hammer just landed on the dinner table one night, because my brother, Anthony, Ant, who I since have gone into playing bands with, he was studying music at school. He was playing guitar, so he was sort of very musical. And one night at the dinner table, he just picked up his knife and fork and he started just going. And I'm this tiny little whippersnapper, and I just went, something in me went, twing.
Oh, wow.
I picked up mine and I was like, I'm already way better than you, man. What's going on?
With zero practice.
Yeah, it was a lightning moment of, wow, okay, something happened there. So,
so how old were you then?
4, 5.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Yeah.
So very early on.
So then it was kind of a slow process over a few years of following that. It was following that dream. It was kind of like, okay, what is this? What does this mean? And then watching the morning video hits or whatever was on around that time. Maybe it was MTV came a bit later, but yeah, it was literally Countdown and Rage and then going, oh, right, drums is that and this is what they do. And so I kind of started to learn just purely by watching and listening. And then I would start to create my own drum sets, because come from a very large family, so there wasn't that kind of spending available at that time.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you want a drum kit? Sure. So I made my own out of cardboard boxes, and that progressed to ice cream containers. And I got very creative and made the stands and tried to make my own foot pedal, and was just dove all the way into it. There's a picture on my Instagram actually of me playing the cardboard box kit, having a jam with my brothers.
I gotta watch that.
Might flash that up, but it kind of just evolved probably over 6 years, where I would basically learn how to play the drums playing on cardboard boxes and watching music videos, and then playing along to the radio. And by the time I was in grade 6, I'd already taken my cardboard, hybrid drum sets to school and jammed along with the music teacher, and she was playing piano. I was up the front doing a little performance, and so I was already into the live performance thing. God, I wish I had videos of that time. It would be hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
I remember this cardboard drum kit falling apart as it's being taken out of a car by Dad at school. Just going, what are you doing? It's going to be awesome, Dad, trust me. So I guess I've always just had that yearning and want to connect with music wherever it comes from, and then have that pass through me and then connect to an audience. And yeah, I got my first drum kit in year 7.
Yep.
So, I'd seriously been hassling my parents for a good 5 years by that point. Like,
wow.
And we had this thing called a trading post, which was a newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
It's like eBay, but, newspaper. And I was just always zoom in on the kits and go look for something that was really cheap. And I'd go, Mum, there's a 7-piece Pearl export for $300, like keep dreaming,
Yeah. It's probably like bargain of the century, but it's just like
totally
too much. Yeah.
So I got my first kit in year 7, and that was just mind blowing. Just to go from cardboard boxes to actual drums, mind blowing. So then, there's a whole other realm of learning and trying to work out what the hell the real ones do, and pulling drums apart and seeing how they worked and how they tuned, and how to look after them, and different sounds you could get. And then it was just basically play along to all my favourite music, or music that had sort of been an influence come my way via my brother's record collections and stuff, which are still snaffled to this day.
Oh, nice.
Back in the days when vinyl was like, we've got to throw all this vinyl out.
Yeah.
I said, I'll have it all, Mum. Don't you worry. I'll take it all.
Yeah.
So I scored some awesome, vintage records there. Play along.
Yep.
To listen to the radio, exploring different kinds of music. Never got one drum lesson. Just learnt purely by playing and listening. A bit of jamming in high school. Had some school bands, I mean, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
I keep talking, but,
Well,
get more questions.
We'll go forward in time in a second. But even with that, because one of the questions that was kicking around my head was your diversity. Like you can, you seem to be quite comfortable in lots of different styles and techniques, like jazz and atmospheric stuff, to really lay down rock or whatever. And so where did that sort of come from? Was that just from listening a lot to different stuff and trying things out?
Because sometimes when you go and study something, you have to focus on one thing particularly and get it right. So for me, it was more about that total kind of world of music. I would hear things and go, oh, right. So how are they doing that? Even if it was a atmospheric thing or a classical piece or, some weird, I don't know, experimental jazz or, I'd just sort of be just going, what's going on there? Can I do it? And then practicing, that's how they do it. And just, I guess you got to have a love for music in general, just to want to explore those different areas, seeing value in what they are. Like, I'll be driving home, say if we've had a rehearsal in Melbourne and I drive home to Geelong, I put on PBS or something, the radio station in Melbourne, and there'll be the extreme metal show on, and I'm just going, right, wow, crank this up. What's going on? What's the
Yeah,
latest? What are they singing about? Why are they doing that?
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy drumming, full on. That's not my taste, but I totally appreciate it. And so it's just it comes from a broad love of music and want to be able to express it.
Yeah. And it sounds like a really broad curiosity too, like just an openness to see where you can find value in what other people are doing and just going, well, I'll try some of that. Like, that sounds interesting. I'll have a go at that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
cool.
but like any artist, you always get pigeonholed, or you get sort of stuck in a spot where you go, I keep repeating myself, or I'm bored of what I'm doing. And so you are always thinking, how can I change what I'm doing? How can I make myself more interested in what I'm doing? I know you probably feel the same way as a singer-songwriter. Many artists I've worked for, they sing the same songs over and over and over and over and over years and years and years because they've become popular, or maybe they've had a hit. So the trick is to still be in love with that part of your expression.
Yeah.
But also try and make it still relevant and still make it resonate for you.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with drummers,
So how do you do that? How do you reconnect? Like if you play the same song with a band over and over or whatever, what are some things that help to make it fresh so you can reconnect to it or be excited about it? Or do you not? Do you just like, screw this, sick of this song?
There's a bit of that.
Yeah.
I never say screw it because I feel lucky to be at a festival and, playing.
Yeah.
I've worked with Jeff Lang, have done for many, many years. And the great thing about Jeff is that we never rehearse. He'll just we're playing less and less these years purely because of, current musical situation. So we might do a few festivals a year. We're certainly not doing the big band tours and album launches with big bands and flying around stuff because it's not viable at the minute.
Yeah.
But I'll say meet up with Jeff at a festival and we'll be on stage, hundreds of people, and he goes, this new song. You'll be fine. Just come in around after the first chorus, so whatever you feel like, you'll pick it up. He starts to sing. It's going, wow. So it's really, you put on the spot. And that keeps it really, really exciting. There's no 4 weeks of rehearsals, pre-production, record it, do it again, change this around. It's just like, bang, immediate. What is your take on this? And that's sort of what recording albums used to be about. It's just like, it's a record of what's happening for that band at that point, at that time. And that's it captured. Because if they were to do it a week later, it would be different. So it's nice to work with Jeff in that context. Say someone like Mia Dyson, she's got a really extensive back catalogue now and some very popular songs. So she has to play those all the time. Again, I'm lucky. She's just a magnificent singer-songwriter, and it's just a joy to play those songs. I think about maybe bands like U2 or the Rolling Stones, because there would be a certain level of awesomeness just being able to do that and continue to do that. But then it's also that, holy shit, we've got to play this fucking set again,
Yeah.
Like, how do they find the balance? Yeah. It's a tricky one. You got to finding new inspiration and relevance to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Any artist, I think you always draw inspiration from others who are doing it as well.
Yeah. I find the trick for me, if there's a song I've been playing for years, is to reconnect to the initial inspiration or emotion of the song. Whatever, imagery came up, the first time I wrote it or whatever, when it was at its freshest. If I notice, like, I'm not even paying attention. I'm just I've just gone through the motions, and I go, okay, cool. I've got to reconnect with that thing. Otherwise, it can start to feel like a chore, or like I'm not even really enjoying this. I could be washing the dishes. I could be doing anything.
If you're not convincing yourself when you're doing it, you're not convincing anyone else who's watching.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And so, yeah, you've played with lots of really great artists. And where was the first time you got into that sort of band situation? So, well, I guess you played with your primary school music teacher, but when did the idea of a band come together, or when was that first?
I was just busting. I went and saw Midnight Oil in year 7. I was obsessed with Rob Hurst's, flamboyant drumming and
amazing drummer.
And that band, still my favourite band, just incredible songs, and musicians, and really Aussie as. So it was just always wanted to be in a band. So in high school, formed my own groups there with kind of like-minded friends.
Yep.
Unfortunately for me, I was sort of restricted a bit because my parents were pretty strict in that they said you can't be in a band like go and play out pubs and stuff until you finish high school. Which is kind of fair enough and a bit conservative. And I was like, no, I want to let me out. I'm so good. I'm so much better than the drummer in my brother's band.
Bursting at the seams to get involved. Yeah, so it's a good sign.
A high school band. Actually, I actually played bass and sang in my high school band because that's how it landed. But crazy big Catholic family, right? And we were all forced to go to church as kids, and so in my mid-teens, we just went, church is so shit. We're gonna make it fun somehow, Yeah. And me and my brothers, we made this thing up called the Rock Mass.
Cool.
So once a month on a Sunday, we'd all bring a band in and we'd do songs that were relevant to us. Like it could have been Lenny Kravitz's Let Love Rule or Beatles, So that was kind of, I guess, my first real live music experience, which was very formative as well, and because it really instilled a sense of, right, this is important. You've got to be on the ball. You've got to learn the song. You've got to know the song. You've got to play it to the room. You've got to be respectful of the event. You've got to load your bloody gear in and out. You've got to do a sound check. Yeah, so it was a big. Lucky for me, I got to learn the ropes sort of early like that. That didn't last long. I wanted to play at the pubs and stuff. So. As soon as I was done, I was like, bang, down the local pub, playing in my brother's band Friday night, rocking the house, loving it, and just, I'm sure if I look back now, I would hate my style of playing and what I was doing. But at the time, it just felt awesome. And I ended up moving out of home about that stage, studying at Melbourne Uni, doing visual arts, and going to see lots of bands, already sort of establishing a little network of friends and other musicians, and then just, I don't know, just sort of, it started, do you know Carl Pannuzzo? He's in Checkerboard Lounge, his band. They used to play at the Great Britain in Richmond, which is, I think it's just apartments now, but anyway, it's an awesome pub.
Yep.
And I would go and see them, and they were renowned for having people jump up and guest and play.
Right.
And for some reason, I'd convinced a few of that community that I could play. And one time I got up and had a jam, and then that was it. And I was like, oh, fuck, Danny, wow, oh, that's awesome. So then I was like, okay, come back. Oh, come and play here, come and do that, come and that. So that really, I can thank Carl and Ian Collard and Max Meredith, rest in peace, and Angel Sheehan, for that kind of little
Mm.
or in Dan Kerr. Yeah, so I guess that's where it really started. Then I was in bands. Then I was being a muso, trying to survive on music.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how the fuck I did it, really.
It's just, well,
crazy.
you probably worked your ass off. Networked your ass off.
Gigs, yeah.
So that moment seems like a really important moment. Was that where you sort of, the penny kind of dropped that it was like, oh, this is something that I can do, or this is something that is like legit, that is kind of, was it a point of like no return, or it sounded like you had that point immediately of no
Once
return.
I was there, I was at uni studying to become a teacher in visual arts, and I was just like, nah, not me. Bang, dive into music. So it was more just like, I'm doing this and it's going to work. It's not a case of I have to prove it, or it was just, I was just forcing myself into it because I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I've had to keep revisiting that drive across the years because, you know how the industry is, it ebbs and flows. And, one year I had 10 gigs, and it was very depressing. And I was just like, oh, maybe I'm done. I'm cooked. It's all over. But the following years, records and tours and all sorts of things. So you just keep remembering that, like you're saying with that song, you got to focus back to that initial inspirational point and like, that's like reconnect and just go, awesome. It's just I was just always meant to play music, so
and that's a pretty powerful belief to have, like to come back to go this thing again. Like I think I might have mentioned this.
Look, it's the same though. It's the same for everyone I work for. They've just known through high school. You know what? This is what I'm doing. I'm going to make it work.
Yeah. And that thing you mentioned of like forcing yourself to make it work, or it's kind of like burning your bridges or burn the boats, having no plan B, and just like, I've just got to figure out how this works. And you just kind of
the irony
around.
Is I did have to have a plan B.
Yeah. And many artists do, and
Yeah, of course.
You've got
people are working in cafes, or they've got another gig on, or they're studying, or they completely work in another industry.
Yeah.
They work within the industry doing some other role, or a venue, or there's ways of offsetting.
So
the unfortunate non-support of art in our current climate.
Yes. It's a definite challenge. It's probably the biggest challenge as part of it. If the financial backing was there, obviously that makes it easier. But even in that case, like, it's interesting to think about artists who aren't, I don't know, fully sold on the idea, or maybe they didn't have to overcome any of the resistance to kind of make it happen. Sometimes it's handed to them and they don't necessarily take full advantage of it, or the industry takes advantage of them. So what's coming to mind is like people that do Australian Idol or any of these kind of talent shows where they go from, they're obviously passionate and they're very talented, but they go from never really having to grind at it to this exposure, and then they're not sure how to follow it up.
Because they just present this kind of flashy, glitzy idol and go, hey, look, you can have this awesome success. Come in, bang, there you go. And they install in kids who are watching that kind of false sense of success. Because, maybe there's only 2 or 3 at the most of those contestants who have come through the other side and made a career and been successful. The rest are all just shunted into shopping centres and never heard of again. So I was thinking, you touched on a point. I'll have to pause the video here a second.
Yeah. Well, while you think about it, I wrote a song about that dynamic years ago called "Ship in a Bottle," and it's the metaphor for this kind of teen idol or pop idol thing was that the industry sort of takes these idols and it's this pre-packaged thing, and they package it all up and they throw it out onto the ocean, and it's kind of bobbing around. But then eventually another year passes, and they need a new idol because they've got a new season to do. So
exactly.
So they throw
It's
another
never
one out.
about the art or the artist.
No.
It's purely a machine going churn, hit, just song,
Yeah.
next one, story, next.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they're still going.
Yeah.
People aren't, you know.
People haven't twigged on. But then, you have all these ships in bottles floating in the ocean. They all just like crashing into each other and sinking each other. Meanwhile, there's someone just kind of rubbing their hands. Actually, this jumper, this is the film clip for that song is this little character. This is kind of... And so he's this little character who's trying to save these musicians. It's this stop time animation thing. And there's this...
I remembered what I was going to touch on.
Yeah.
You said at a point there were some artists that are just sort of handed things like this idol. But there's also some artists who are just given the opportunity and the money and support and backing and can do it. It's not a given that they succeed or are happy. With the latest announcement of the arts and entertainment industry rescue package, that's what I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, they've held off on that deliberately, because there's this ideology that goes, artists have to be struggling, otherwise the art isn't any good.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I thought about it. I went, no, there's examples through history of the church paying artists to paint roofs and things and fantastic art created. But I was thinking, there is always going to be amazingly talented artists. Just always. There always is, always will be. So if there is that support and money and opportunity and exposure granted, there's just going to be more awesomeness, more great art.
Yeah.
So, the idea of cutting back any kind of support because that's the only way we're going to get good art, I think that's false. But also of like creating a false idol, like this is the only way you're going to be famous. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of mythology and just myths around art that just are not helpful. They're not supportive. Like to anyone who, like for you, who had that innate like interest and curiosity and drive or whatever. If the story we're constantly told is you're going to have this one shot and this one opportunity, maybe, and if that doesn't work out, you might as well just become a clerk somewhere or whatever. And that's the end. It's like game over. Rather than the narrative that when you end up reading biographies of artists who have done it, they tell this story of, I did this and then that didn't work and then we released a third album and then a fifth album and then we started getting some recognition or whatever. And then since then we've continued to work and blah, blah, blah. Did you start to form this more holistic picture of an artist and what it is to be an artist and the lifetime journey of an artist that you go, oh, okay, cool. This is about the long game. It's about something much deeper, about expressing myself and connecting with an audience and all that. Mia, that's not a good backstory. You can't edit that down into a 15-second ad.
Exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of publicists and managers and stuff have had to definitely cultivate that story that's quotable.
It's all fake. I've played artists who were approached by those television shows and said, come and be on it and we'll guarantee you get to this stage of the competition.
Right.
It's all just fake. It's all set up. They know who's
the inside scoop.
Yeah.
Wow. It's
all
WWF.
advertising and whatever song they put out at the end. Yeah, that's all it's about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
sorry,
There
kids.
There you go.
Listen to Dave Grohl talk about that.
Yeah. So to switch topics only very slightly, but coming back to your drumming thing, there was something I was curious about was, so you had an innate interest very early on, but I wanted to find out what is it about drumming that you love that you think other people don't know about or don't get? Like, even people you perform with or whatever, there must be something about it that you think this is the best. That's why I'm doing it. Like, I love this, and you don't get it. There's something about it. I'd love to know,
I don't know if people don't get it, if they maybe just don't have that same connection.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I was wondering, what's kind of the secret to, remaining passionate about drumming, or the thing that really draws you to it? So I think as a songwriter, a big part of it is communicating something. Like, I think that's the thing that I find special about it. And maybe it's like, more directly. I know you do that in all instrumentation, but I don't know, communicating a very specific idea maybe, but I don't know what it is for other instruments.
I keep that passion going by working with new people like yourself, because then you come into contact with someone else's influences and wishes and kind of interpretations, ideas and song, and so then that immediately gives you a new brief. Okay, what do I do to that? As opposed to me just thinking, I've got to keep myself interested. I'm going to come up with a new drumming bit and then post it on. Like, I don't do that. Of course, I've had to succumb to the self-promotion, content creator, new age. Try and post stuff, but for me, I get more joy out of having a song placed in front of me and go, okay, can you play drums to it? I get more joy out of that than going, how am I going to do my next Instagram post? I tend to work really well to a brief it's given to me, as opposed to coming up with things myself.
Yeah. And maybe to continue on with that idea of when someone presents you with something, and then there is that moment, like you're talking about with Jeff Lang, like, hey, just come in at the chorus or whatever. So I guess we're sort of talking about the creative process, but what sort of runs through your mind when you're first encountering a new piece of music, as far as how do I bring rhythm to this? Or it's probably not a very conscious process, but
no, it's
you might reflect on it.
I'm a bit limited because I sort of just go, what's the most classic basic thing and what feels right. So, and as we know, things develop over time the more you sort of play through things and change stuff up. But it comes back to that innate thing. It's just, what's falling out of me right now? What are my limbs? What's it just doing to fall into that feels right? And I might listen back and go, that's boring as a bat shit, or you're doing way too much, or it just comes down to the instant what feels right. Which is kind of easy for drummers.
Right.
I think a lot of Mijos go, bloody drummers, you just sit there and bloody whack stuff, you have to learn the chord changes and all the rest. But, there's a lot you have to learn and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I've said this to you before, but when I was preparing to make the record, like, for me, that the drumming was such an important part. It was really the next element, apart from, all right, here's the song, and I know, kind of how that goes.
Yeah.
Now, how do we, find the rhythm that goes into that to really increase the dynamics and create space and atmosphere and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I think it's,
I'm with you too. I'm with you too. I mean, what's music? Rhythm and melody.
Yeah.
Break that down. It shits me when I hear bad drum mix or just, and what's obviously an awesome drumming thing just lost.
Yeah,
because
so important.
I agree. There's songs that have the drums way up there and are really helping people get into it, I reckon.
Yeah.
And you notice when the drumming's a bit shit too, because it's like, the magic isn't there.
Yeah, and I've heard from producers basically the two things they hear, especially in lots of pop production, really is if you're kind of hearing that song from another room, you want to hear the drums, whether it's just the kick, but you want to hear the drums and the vocal. Like that's really essentially what is going to drive that song, and everything else is ornamentation. And we're totally discounting everything else, like, bass is super important. And
no. Well, that's the challenge of music, isn't it? Trying to make it all work.
Yeah. Exactly.
From jamming into playing and performing and recording, they're all trying to find that right balance and the right mix.
Yeah.
Drums, mate. Where would we be without them?
Yeah,
Sometimes,
exactly.
way back when, we would just come out of the caves and we're howling at the moon and then going, oh, there's a melody there, cool. And there's hit some logs, all right.
Yeah. It is.
It was there from the start.
Yeah, it is deeply primal. I mean, and
mate,
African drumming is...
Kids, just, all of my nephews and nieces have all just like want to come here and go, can we go to Uncle Danny's and play the drums? And every singer-songwriter I work with all have a bit of, can I have a go?
Yeah, totally. It's kind of where my musical journey kind of started with drums. My older brother had got a drum kit, and I was probably like 5 or 6 or something. And I loved just getting on there. I don't think I was very rhythmic, but just loved hitting it. And then
what it is? It's that pure immediate expression, because there's something like kids have with art, finger painting, immediate, done, there it is, colour. It's the same with drums, bang, sound, sweet. It's music, it's like art and music. It's all just sort of right there. So that's why drums are pretty special, I think.
Yeah. I never thought of that. Yeah, there's a little barrier to entry to piano or guitar. Like it hurts your fingers and it really doesn't sound good for
got to think about it.
Yeah, you got to think about where's that go and how's this going, and you got to left hand, right hand. Yeah, with drums, it's like let's just make some noise. And also, coming back to that thing of expression, like you can express an emotion like without knowing, without articulating it or whatever. Like as a kid, a little kid can sit there and just be tapping the drums, or they can just go nuts. And it is an opportunity of like creative expression.
I guess that's why, I have a few favorite drummers or favorite kind of drumming. I'm not one of these modern guys who loves all the technical, flamboyant, rudiments and chop fest. I was like, fine, but I get bored after seconds and go, all right, what are you saying? You just fucking so that doesn't do it for me. Like there's some local drummers, Jim White from the Dirty Three. He's very painterly, like painting the music rather than he's like
he's just throwing stuff at the canvas.
It's like awesome. That's my favorite kind of drumming because it's expression and it's different. Because when I see all the technical guys going off online. I'm just like, but you all sound exactly like one another.
Yeah, yeah.
Down to the kit sounds you've got, I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I was drawn to your drumming when I probably first heard you play with Jeff Lang, I think, and just the freedom and the expression that I heard coming through, it just felt so alive. It wasn't like buttoned down, like it was still super tight and powerful, but there was this space and from now that I know more of your story, I can kind of see where that comes from, just like your intuition of playing and tapping into the emotion first, or just being very open, like to whatever kind of comes through, rather than okay, cool, I know what pattern and polyrhythms are going to work with this or whatever.
Yeah.
Which when I went and studied jazz guitar stuff, but I'd come from this place of writing my own songs and the emotion being super important. And we'd have band rehearsals, like, small group band rehearsals. And some of them were so technical, the way they would write songs. They'd be like, oh, okay, we'll do this. And then that chord, that goes to the blah, blah. And they said it as if it was just like written in stone, that when you play that chord, it has to step to this next thing.
Yeah.
I literally felt sick in my stomach. Like, I felt really upset. I was like, no, you can't do that to music. And
there an expression.
Yeah, and there are
can't say use the paintbrush, and you can only do this with the paintbrush if you start to go. The only thing you can do.
Yeah, and I learned some really great things in theory and whatever that helped in songwriting get me unstuck and things like that. But they're tools to reach for when you need them, rather than, oh, here's the tool and this what it does. But yeah, definitely, yeah, that creative expression definitely comes through in your playing. So we'll have to direct people to.
Pannuzzo is another influence in that way, because he opened my eyes. This is back at the GB with Checkerboard Lounge.
Yeah,
he opened my eyes to the fact that music isn't just a box and that's start and end. He would take the music, like they would just jam, and he'd like fall into this other pattern, and then that would fall into another thing, and then the band would follow him, and then all of a sudden we're in a completely other territory, and they're like, cool, let's explore this, and then it would eventually come back to how they started the song. But that for me was a real opener of a real live music, live expression, artistic, and I really thank that band for that, because it just made me think, totally, like what's stopping you if you want to express yourself in music? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, one person, and they're inside your head, but that's about it. If you get that person out of the way, there's like this entire musical universe to explore.
There is respect and sort of things you have to conform to. If you're in a band, it's like, you're on a stage and you're playing this song.
Yeah.
You can't just go, I feel like go in the chorus, So, but the fact that just music as a thing, like you saying, you felt sick by being restrained. It's like just come back to the idea that music just is a creative outlet and an essence and a thing that you can paint just like paint if you want.
Yeah, if you want. Yeah. Cool. Well, we might close her up here, and I'm sure we could go on to other dimensions, and maybe we will in the future. We'll do another episode.
Yeah, talk all about the plan B of animation.
Yeah. We can talk about that. Well, I guess. Yeah. Well, I already feel like opening that can of worms, but maybe we'll.
Okay, it's up to you.
We'll come back to it. Let's do a part 2.
All right,
because it'll be good to see you again.
It'll be good. And
hopefully, I see you in the flesh before I see you in the
out. Some stuff will be out by that point that we can talk about as well.
Yeah, cool.
Lots of
Great.
little things I've been working away on at home in COVID, which has been nice.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool, man.
Thanks for the chat, man.
Chat. Yeah, it's really good to see you.
You
And
too, mate.
good to hear more of your backstory.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hope I hope some people got something out of it.
I'm sure they
Thanks
did.
for listening, everyone.
Cool. Thanks, man. See ya.
All right, mate. Take care. Catch up.
So there you have my conversation with Danny McKenna. It was really fun to have that chat. So thanks to Danny. In the description below here, or as part of the notes for this episode, you'll find links to a number of the things we talked about in this episode. If you want to go check out some clips and some music, please feel free to do that. Also, to connect with Danny, his contact details would be there as well, where you can find him on the socials. In the meantime, it would be great if you would rate this episode, review it, share it, like it, post it around the place, or leave a comment below, and I'd love to hear from you. If you want to get a free download of some of my music, you can head to mijobiscan.com/free music. You can also pick up a CD at mijobiscan.com. You can listen to the album there, you can stream it, and if you dig it, grab yourself a signed limited edition CD posted to you anywhere in the world. So thanks for tuning in. Look forward to having you on the next podcast, which will be coming out soon. All right, peace out. Bye.